Hi, today I will be talking about Storage KODO for Office 365. So one product to protect them all. At this moment, we are supporting. If we are talking about Office, we are supporting a backup of OneDrive for Business. In the next release, we'll also support a backup of the Exchange. So generally, KODO for Office 365 is a solution that protects business data by performing daily backups of OneDrive for Business to ensure business continuity and to meet compliance demands. KODO protects critical data from loss due to ransomware, malware, other threats, or just simple user errors. Protecting organization with KODO is simple yet effective. It provides granular data restoration and enables administrators and end users to restore data functions, reducing costs and meeting RTO. So let's take a look on the components of KODO for Office 365. We have a three main components. We have an agent, which is a Linux service that can be run on KODO server or other Linux machine. Generally, this is a proxy for backups from Microsoft Office Cloud. KODO server service, it's an integral part of KODO server. It is intended to manage backup proxies and control configuration setting. And KODO client, it's a Windows UI client or mobile UI client intended to restore data protected by KODO solution. So let's take a look on general architecture. So we have a few components here. We have a KODO server that is a central management point. From here we can set up access to our organization, and we can manage the process of making backup copies, and the server connects to the agents and distributes tasks between agents. Like I said before, agents are components that are responsible for performing backup copies. We can install and configure as many agents as we want to optimize backup task performance, and each agent can perform backup from one or several Office organizations. At this picture, we see that agent 1 is processing backup task for two different Office organizations, two other agents processing data of individual organization. And what is task? Task is as simple as set of rules and Office data which are protected by KODO solution. In the next few minutes, I will show management portal. I will show how to add our Office organization to KODO, how to perform backup, how to manage this backup. I will also show client for Windows, how to restore data, how KODO client works, and what we can achieve. So let's jump to our management server. After the login, we'll see a dashboard. In the dashboard, we see general system information about activity, about our devices, our users, and data that is stored on the KODO server. So if we want to configure backup for Office 365, we need to go to services. We have one agent that is installed and working with this server, and here we have a configuration of our organization. So let's click on the icon. We see that we have a version 1.016 that have a feature of OneDrive backup. Here we see a configuration of our organization. We can add new organization or we can edit existing one. So we need to provide few information. Name, this is our fantasy, so this is a name that will help us find correct organization. We also need to provide tenant ID, client ID, and client secret. So from where we can find these three values. We prepared a special script that needs to be run on the Windows system, and when we run the script will ask us to sign in into our organization as an administrator, and when we give a correct authorization data, the script will generate a tenant ID, a client ID, and a client secret for us. And the next step will be logging to our Azure portal. We need to go to Active Directory, app registration, find their KODO for cloud application, and grant correct permission. And generally, that's all. Then we can provide tenant ID, client ID, and client secret to our KODO server. KODO server will synchronize users between our Office organization and between our users, and every user that has a correct mail in the KODO server. So if the user have the same mail in the KODO server and the same mail in the Office organization, we'll see a cloud icon next to him. So if we will go to the user and click on the service tab, we can turn on or turn off backup of Office solution for this user, and we can start manually backup of files of this user. Of course, we don't have to do this manually, and we go to our service configuration. We have a tab that is called schedules, and here we can create schedules that will be started automatically. And this schedule will be for all users that are synchronized between KODO and our Office organization. So let's create some schedule. For example, let's call it schedule 1. Let's give some small execution interval like 10 minutes, and we'll select OneDrive backup. Click save. So the task was created, the schedule was created, so we know that the next execution will be in, well, it should be right now. Yes, when we refresh the page, we see that the last backup was 30 seconds ago, so the next one should be in 10 minutes, and this schedule has one feature, it's a OneDrive backup, and at this moment we have only one active user. So like you see, configuration of the service, configuration of the access to Microsoft organization is very easy and very simple. We can do this in just few minutes. So let's look how it's working from the client point of view. So I will jump to my Windows system. Here we have a KODO client installed. In the overview section, we see that our data is protected, so it means that continuous data protection mode is working. I see that my assigned policy is PBOBAC policy. Continuous data protection is enabled, and I can, for example, if I want, I can pause it for some time. So let's click at this moment at my policy. At the advanced section, I can see which folders was chosen by administrator to protect my device. So at this moment I should have protected on this device documents, desktop, and some images from my documents folder. So every file that is stored on the desktop is protected in continuous data protection mode. So every time the file is changing, we have a service that is monitoring the file system, and when the files change, it's automatically sent to a backup server. So let's open some file. We have some data here. Let's delete the data. Let's put some strange characters here, and let's save the file. The file is pretty small, so I think that backup should be pretty quick. So let's click on the right mouse button on this file. Let's choose KODO, restore, and here we see all available versions of this file. So I have a backup from 2 p.m. and backup that has been done now. So let's restore the previous version, overwrite, file restored, and when we open the file we see the previous version. So this is how continuous data protection modes work. We have a myKODO, and myKODO is a special folder that is synchronized between all user devices. myKODO it's a folder on the file system. If we put file in myKODO, it will be automatically synchronized with a server, and the files that are stored here are available on all user devices. So if I open KODO client on Mac, I will have access to all these files. If I will open myKODO on my Android device, I will also have access to these files. If I will modify some files that are stored in myKODO using Android client, I will see the changes here. Also, if I will store the file in myKODO, I can share this file or share the folder with other users. And we have two forms of sharing. We can share folders with other KODO users, and we can create a link to a file and share this file with users that are outside our organization. But of course we need to have our rights, and generally administrator need to give us right to perform sharing operation. And in the share we have 3 tabs: shared by me, shared with me, and global shares. So shared by me, here I will see the folders that I share with other users. So let's choose some folder. No, I can't, because yes, I don't have any folder to share in myKODO. So let's try to create some folder. Let's create this folder demo. Let's put some file here. So we will need to wait for a synchronization. Okay, synchronization has been done. So now I can add this folder and share with some other users that are available in my organization. So for example, I will share this with my colleague Pavel. Okay, click save, and in a few minutes when myKODO of Pavel will synchronize, he will have a full access to demo folder, He will have a full access to all files that are stored here, so he can modify them, he can save them, and I will see all the changes. So generally we can cooperate together on documents. In the share with me tab, if somebody will share some folder with me, I will see it here, and physically on the file system these folders will be available in the shares folder. And global shares are special kind of shares that are created by administrator using the management portal. Administrator can upload some files and distribute them among selected KODO users. So for example, if we have some presentation, we don't need to send it using email. We can, for example, share it using KODO. I will show this in a few minutes. And in the backup section, I have access to all my devices and all my backup. So here I see this device, I see my desktop, I see all the backed up data. So let's go to users, Patrick, desktop. I see, let's give it a few seconds to load. Yeah, I see all the data that were backed up. Let's find this file that I modified. If we click on the clock icon, we'll see all available versions that can be restored. And in the documents, I have a policy that says that all the Office files and all the images that are stored in the documents should be protected in continuous data mode. So for example, if I will open my documents folder and put their exe file, this file will be not protected by KODO because only Office documents and only images are protected by KODO. I can also have access to backup from my mobile devices. At this moment we are supporting restoring files and images, galleries from the Android devices. In the next releases we would like also add support for restoring calendars and contacts. And Office 365 OneDrive, here I see all the data that are stored in my OneDrive. I can restore them. I see all folders. So maybe let's open my OneDrive. Let's try to put some new files over here. Let's select a few files, let's copy them. Let's give it a few seconds for a synchronization. Okay, it's ready. So it's file 01 policy, image 1 and people. Now we're gonna back to our KODO Store KODO management portal. Let's find my user. Let's go to services and we'll start the backup manually. We need to give it few seconds to connect. We need to give it a few seconds to connect to Microsoft Office Cloud, download all the data, and in a few seconds they should be available in a backup. So at this moment, let's see a settings section. In the settings section, we can change the server that we are connected to. We can change language. At this moment, we are supporting Czech, English, and Polish language. And also, if the administrator give us rights, we can encrypt our backup. But this is very important information. enabling encryption will erase the previous backup. So we don't want to have situation when the half of the backup is encrypted and the second half is not encrypted. If we encrypting, everything needs to be encrypted. So for example, I can select some password, click save, and the old backups will be deleted. New backup will be created according to my policy, and all data will be encrypted using my own personal key. Of course, if I will lose the key, if I will not remember the key, I will be not able to restore the data. But I'm talking a lot about policy, so let's take a look what policy is. So we have a policy that I'm using. In the policy we have a few tabs, and generally here the policy is telling how the device should behave and how and which data should be protected from specific platform. In the general tab we can set up policy as default. We can give user right to modify policy. Of course, the modification of the policy is only local on the device, so user can add, for example in Windows, user can add some new folders to be backed up, but he cannot change the folders and the extensions that was set by the administrator. We have some privacy setting, we have some password setting, configuration, mobile setting, retention for mobile devices. If we don't want to use KODO, we can turn KODO off. We can also use KODO, but we can not allow for sharing folders or for sharing files via links. And we can allow or disallow user to encrypt their backup. Email section. Here we can configure backup of the email client archives. At this moment we are supporting Microsoft Outlook and IBM Notes. In the Windows section, here we are generally, well, let's go maybe to edit mode. In the Windows section, here we are configure which folders should be protected by KODO. If we want to add a new path, new extensions that will be protected, it's very easy. We clicking add include directory, we choose correct path, or we use template, like for example my documents. We include subdirectories and choosing extensions that should be protected in continuous data protection mode, or choose from template, like for example music, and retention, for example KODO 5 versions. And retention is a management class in a TSM. So we can create retention based on date or based on number of versions, or both. We have also exclude backup settings. Like for example, here I have a desktop, and from desktop should be protected all files, but in exclude settings I have a desktop also, and I have excluded files with MPEG extension, and from all local drives and all folders and subfolders, or all ISO files. So if I will put ISO file or some movie on my desktop, it will be not backed up. Very similar on macOS, OS X. Here the only difference here are paths. On Android, iOS, and Windows Phone, in a very simple way, we can tell which items should be backed up and which not. So we can back up contacts, calendars, galleries, files from internal memory, and files from SD cards. We have also some exclude filters, so we can exclude files, and we can exclude files that are larger than, for example, 50 megabytes. And in the next release of KODO, we'll also add for Android devices backup of messages and a call log. And in the services section, we have a configuration for OneDrive backup, so we can exclude some extensions, we can exclude some paths, or tell what should be maximum file size for a backup. In the system, we can have as many policies as we want, and the policies are assigned to our users. So we can have different users with different policies. For example, we can have policies for marketing, for management, for IT service, and all these groups can have different policies with different features. So let's get back to our client. Let's check Office backup because it should have been done already. And like you see, we have new files that can be restored from a OneDrive. So let's try if it really works. Let's try to restore some files. Let's say to our desktop. Yeah, some of the files already exist here, but we'll override them. Yeah, it's done. All files has been restored and they are working fine. And of course, because we have a continuous data protection and we have a policy that is saying that all the files that are stored on the desktop should be protected, these files already should be backed up by KODO. So let's take a look on TSM, because TSM it's a backup engine that we are using with KODO on the KODO server. On the special management level, the instance server management, we have settings for connecting KODO with a Spectrum Protect engine. So here we are giving the address of the KODO server, client port, administrative port, node name that will be used for administration and for creating a new node. We have some switches to collect the duplication statics, and we can use or not use SSL with TSM. Because KODO client is using TSM API, so all the data are sent directly to a TSM server. Of course, if we are using SSL, we need to upload TSM certificate. This certificate will be distributed to client, and all the connection will be encrypted. So if we're talking about client, in the program data storeware folder, we have a configuration of the KODO, and here you will find also the SEM OPT file. Let's open it using a notepad, and here we'll find the node name that is used by this client to store all the data. So let's copy it and let's see what TSM can tell us about this node. So we have a platform KODO, we have a policy domain name KODO. Let's see some file spaces. Yes, at this moment there is only one file space because at this client we have only one drive, one partition that is protected. So where are stored the files from the Office 365? We need to we need to query kodo.prot C88BE55B. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, I used the small letters. And forgot about star. Now here we are see all the nodes that are created for our organization. KODO Prod, it's a name of the main node, and this number it's a part of GUID of our KODO organization. So here we see the nodes of all users, and here we see a special node that is called myKODO, and in this node we are storing the files from myKODO of all users and files from Office from backup of the Office 365. So let's try to display the file space of this node, and like you see in the file space name we have a username, we have a part of GUID of the user, and in this file space, in the specific file space, we are storing the data from the myKODO and from the Office 365. So let's try to see what exactly is stored in this file space. So we gonna use select query from backups where node name is this one, and file space ID is 23. Why 23? Well, I checked before that my user GUID. Let me log into my organization, my user GUID. So this one start with this. So this file space belong to my user, and file space ID is 23. So like you see here we can find that we have a backup of our myKODO and backup of our Office 365 files. And looking from the perspective of TSM, KODO can manage everything. KODO will automatically create correct nodes. KODO will manage these nodes. So every action, every deleting devices, deleting file spaces, deleting files, everything is managed by KODO. So using KODO we don't have to do any extra managing in the Spectrum Protect in the TSM. But we can use, if we want, we can use some TSM features like copy pools or libraries to give extra protection for our backups from workstation or from Office 365. Okay, thank you very much. I hope this was that was interesting. If you have any questions, any technical questions regarding KODO, regarding TSM, please contact with us. We'll try to answer all the questions. Thank you.